allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic, and one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We go through that in a very rote manner. Well, at least I do for the most part. Right, and every once in a while you have to stop and think about what we're actually reciting and saying. And it's not just a phrase, it's really what this country is built on, and some of the principles that we have to make sure we maintain. There's enough of that. But anyways, thank you very much for coming out tonight. We've got a reasonably short agenda as I jinx the whole meeting. But let's get right into it. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Thank you very much. Is there a second, Joel?
Second.
Thank you very, very much. With the council's permission, I'd like to add an additional item. We'll call it 8E, the September 10th council meeting minutes, which Rachel sent out this afternoon. Is that okay with the motion, Kathleen?
Yes, it
And
is.
Joel? With that, any other changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We do have an agenda. The first item are the consent items from Monday. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda items.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much, Timothy. Any comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're on to the action items. The first one is the Kennett Run. Primary issue here, if you recall, on Monday evening, for those that were here, is that Sam wished to recuse herself because of relationship with her employer, Longwood Gardens. So nothing has changed with that. The safety committee certainly recommends that. So with that, is there a motion to approve the Kennett 2026 Kennett Run?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion from council? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any recusals? Thank you very much, Sam. Second item, consider the sidewalk expansion and removal of 4 parking spaces at 110 South Union Street. We did not put on the consent agenda. Let me start and ask, is there a motion to consider this? Hearing no motion, the action does not pass. And move on to the Brandywine Creek Greenway membership. Kyle, can you introduce us?
Sure, I'll be happy to kick it off. This is a great opportunity for the borough, and we're fortunate enough to have Grant DaCosta here from the Brandywine Creek Greenway. Grant, would you mind just giving us an intro into what this is all about?
Yes, pleasure to be with you this evening. As Kyle mentioned, my name is Grant DaCosta. I'm the director of the Brandywine Conservancy, and this evening here representing the Brandywine Creek Greenway, a regional planning effort led by the Brandywine Conservancy, but many, many partners involved in that. Premier amongst them, you'll see Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, the William Penn Foundation, and Chester County Planning Commission, but there are many beyond that. The Greenway is, as I said, a regional planning initiative that began in 2010, but since then has expanded in successive phases so that it now goes all the way from the headwaters of both branches, east and west, in Honeybrook down to its confluence with the Christina River in the city of Wilmington. So it is a bi-state effort. It does not represent the entire Brandywine watershed at this point. As you can see from the map, the municipalities that are highlighted are those just along the main stem and the east and west branch. Of course, you see then Kennett Township represented, and before you tonight to consider Kennett Square joining. In addition, we also have Westchester, the majority of which is not also in the Brandywine. So the Greenway itself is a planning initiative that is not just about the watershed, not just about recreation as many other greenways, but it also looks at conservation, historic resources, economic opportunities, and other things that can come from partnering. So we have added Kennett Township and now looking to add Kennett Square Borough. You also see on the map highlighted Philadelphia, because one of the other exciting elements on this is that portions of the Greenway serve as the western terminus of the Circuit Trail Network, which is an 800-mile envisioned trail network that goes outward from the city of Philadelphia, or if you were in our beautiful part, we could head inward once all of that vision is realized. So as I said, it's more than just recreation. So its themes are that community, conservation, and connection. So you see the different elements there under which all of these are organized in the Greenway Strategic Action Plan, which was just updated last year. It's the third strategic action plan for the Greenway, recognizing how much has been accomplished over the years, starting in 2010, as I mentioned. The concept map, as you see on the right side of the screen there, is part of the strategic action plan update. And you'll see a yellow circle around Kennett Square Borough, which once again recognizes that has always been an informal partner of the Greenway and recognized as a node in the planning vernacular that we use to organize the Greenway. And that references how it is a trail connection and has many of the other elements of the Greenway. Looking at the Greenway, then, what comes from being a member of this, I highlight some of those up there. There's municipal technical assistance that Conservancy staff is able to respond to and help municipalities with at a free basis. We use our funding from the William Penn Foundation to do that. It's on a case-by-case basis and in projects that align with the goals of the Greenway. So I don't want to overstate what type of free technical assistance is out there, but it is something we look to partner with all of our member municipalities on. The municipal toolkits is something that we do under the guise of the Greenway and then make available to the members. These are different planning efforts that we feel are supportive and in the principle of the Greenway. You can see a sample of them up there that we can either release to municipalities or actually help guide you through the process. Some of them are designed to just be an informational, but some of these types of topics have a technical bulletin that actually can walk a municipality through the process if they wanted to undertake one of these tools for their communities. And as a sample, you see there everything from adopting an official map, which is allowed by the municipal planning code, to assessing your historic resources and adopting more sustainable green stormwater for infrastructure in your community. As part of the Greenway, then, we also have several gatherings throughout the year. The regional roundtables are something that happens in the spring. They're held at 3 different locations throughout the watershed where we bring together the partners to keep the momentum and share successes and new opportunities the Conservancy wants to make available. The All Partner Meeting is an annual fall event that is coming up on October 22nd. We invite you all to come. It is a free event. There will be a social networking event as everybody gathers, and then we move into a buffet dinner in the Brandywine Museum of Arts Cafe overlooking the Brandywine Creek. We have a presentation by the Conservancy about some annual notable highlights, as well as giving out an annual award. So once again, October 22nd, if you'd like to come, we'd love to have you join us. And then our mini grant program, we use funding that we receive from Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources to set up a mini grant program open to the Greenway members. We've had about 5 rounds of that so far. It's a great opportunity that pairs with other small scale funding programs that are easy to administer and then implement, like the Pico Green Region or the Dockstetter Foundation for those that are eligible. So it's of those scales. As I said, we've always thought of Kennett Square Borough as an informal member to date. Kennett Square Borough currently has an awarded mini grant to help with native plantings around your new municipal complex here. In addition, we've made several awards to Kennett partners. Kennett Trails Alliance, the Kennett Library, and Kappa have either active or recently completed mini grants as well. In addition, the Conservancy has long been active in Kennett Square Borough. Just last year in May, we held a community fishing day at Anson Nixon Park, working with Casa G, Mighty Writers, a lot of those social service organizations to bring the community out and have a hosted free fishing day for them that came after the trout rodeo did not compete. We very much like that event. This was a secondary event that was really a entry point for many that aren't familiar with our conservation work. And we are following that up now on October 19th. We're going to have another community day at Anson Nixon Park. And at this one, in addition to fishing, we're going to have the Partnership for the Delaware Estuary talking about their mussel program to help clean up the water in the pond. And we're also going to be doing live water quality testing with water testing kit that we now own to make the connection between fishing and conservation and how the water quality can support that activity in the creek. So over the last year, we have sought to formally proposition the borough to be able to join as a former member. To do that, we develop project portfolios and an accompanying map that identifies projects that either the borough may wish to undertake or some of their partners. So within the project portfolio, there are some member projects. None of these are obligated or bind the borough to take any action on them, but it does make those projects and others eligible for funding. They're all at concept scale. So should something be similar, but ultimately once it gets to implementation, it's a little bit different. Still, by being connected to that at a concept level, we can help fund that through some of our other activities. In addition to engaging with borough staff early on in the process to start designing this, we also engage many of the Kennett community, both with the members you see up there, informal members, as well as going to your Third Thursdays. We went out to do a community visioning back in May for the Third Thursday to get their input. We then combined that with the formal meetings and discussion we had with the borough and partners and had our draft, which we were just back on September 18th to have that available for community review as well. We got some great feedback back in May, which was incorporated, as I said. In September, all we got was thumbs up, very supportive, happy to do this, and excited that this does align with the Kennett Greenway. They are companion, they are non-competitive, they are supportive of each other. So with that, we've presented for council consideration the former project portfolios, those projects that are identified as somewhat wish lists, but things we would love to work towards with you. As well as some of the partners and of course the accompanying map. So that's it for my presentation portion, but happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Grant. If you can hold on just a minute. Let me first start to ask, is there anyone who'd like to consider a motion to support becoming a Greenway partner through the Kennett Square Borough Project Portfolio?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Council discussion, mayor discussion, comment?
Seems like it aligns with a lot of the work we're already doing and partners we already have. So.
Grant, is there any financial obligation at this point?
No, there has never been a financial obligation to any of the partners to participate in the Greenway. We have additional funding pending before the William Penn Foundation that will, carry on and allow us to do more of the technical assistance that I mentioned earlier. But once again, joining brings no obligation to the boroughs. This is all a voluntary effort that we're proud to lead and do as a resource for the community members.
That's very, very generous and beautiful. Thank you. I was shocked to see the number of projects that you have already been involved in and others that you're considering. And also that the Greenway has over 36,000 acres of protected open space, a National Historic Park. Which one is that? Do you know?
That would be, I guess, the portion of First State National Historic Park, primarily the, what do they call it? It's not the Woodlawn properties anymore, but just across the state line, it does have a couple hundred acres in Concord Township, Pennsylvania, but it is the First State National Historic Park.
Wow. Three state parks, 40 municipal parks, and over 69 miles of trails and sidewalks. That's very, very impressive. Certainly support that. Any other council, mayor comment? Kyle? Any public comment?
No.
No, no. Unless there's any other questions, motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very,
Thank
very
you.
much.
Coming.
Next item is the reconsideration. It's actually a slight editing of the bid package. We actually passed that for the consent agenda on Monday evening for those of you that were here. It did pass by the council, but there were a couple of changes that Kyle and our solicitors wanted to put in just to make sure it was clear. Andy, would you mind detailing the changes?
Sure. So as you recall, in the original, there were four areas, excuse me, that were being considered properties for the bidding process. There was the first and second floor of this building and the two outbuildings, and there was the third floor. We took the third floor out of the bidding process because it just created too many problems with the structure of the draft of the condo docs because it messed with the valuations and the percentages of how it would work if there was going to be a sale of this property, meaning the third floor section in the future. So the plan and recommendation was made to remove that from the existing documents. And in the future, if that ever wanted to happen, to have this, then we would have the owners of the other properties and we could just make amendments to the condo HOA docs. So that was the purpose and that was the main change that was made. I'll also note that there was that this is just the draft version of the condo docs. So there will be additional changes that will be made if assuming that there are going to be purchasers. Once we have those purchasers identified, then we'll be able to finalize the documents to be more appropriate given the identities of the individuals known and what they need and are looking for. So for example, in the existing documents right now, there is a draft that talks about that there's no food or drink sales permitted in the areas. Well, we don't know who's going to bid on the property yet, so they may want to have food or sale. So we'll be able to work those things out once the bids are accepted and reviewed.
Thank you, Andy and Kyle, for those changes. Yeah.
One additional change is to the layout plan for the condos. So we added from Monday night a space within the carriage house because there's value in the utilities running through there that service this building. So just added that in just to be clear to the bidders that has to be part of that deal.
And Bob, I'm sorry, one more addition to that, just to be clear on that too. In addition to that, I think it was talked about, but we did make those changes. We also included in information for carving out some of the exterior parking areas, which would allow for events and things like that. So that was also included in those documents as well.
Thank you. With that, is there a motion to approve the revised bid package for 600 South Broad Street?
So moved.
Thank you, Ellie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any council, mayor comment, discussion to the changes? Any public comment change to the changes? John? That will actually come in the condo documents. Right.
But you gotta put something because it says people have to take care of their own trash. Well, you gotta give them an area to do it, and it might be all together, but they might have their own thing, but it's all in one spot. And parking, I think, for these buildings would probably be on that side, for the lower floors. And there was one other thing here. I'm just seeing a moment. trash parking. Oh, and I think that we probably ought to go 5 units. I think we ought to separate the police station from the borough in case down the road, 25 years, the police are no more here, they're united with something. You can either move the borough building down there and could be sold, or the borough building could be here and that could be sold. So why not just subdivide it now? It won't hurt anything.
Okay, thank you, John.
Charlotte Watson, 523 Magnolia Street. What type of utility or function is in that outbuilding that assists okay, rest upon this building's needs?
Electrical,
Which building would that be? Which one?
carriage house.
Well, both of them look like carriage houses to me, so
That's
which
the
one?
southern one.
Okay. That's cool. Well, you think we could separate that knowing we need that vital electric?
Yeah, you can put it in as part of the master condo agreement.
Any other, comment?
Stumble.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the last action item are the meeting minutes from September 10th. There is one change to them that Rachel had changed subsequent to the draft she sent us, and that was to change me from absent to present via telephone or via phone. So with that, is there a motion to approve the September 10th, 2025 Borough Council meeting minutes? So moved. Thank you, Joe. Is there a second? Thank you very much, Sam. Any council, mayor comment, change, edit? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Now, our favorite time of the show is public comment. Would anyone have any comment they'd like to share? Edify us, give us the knowledge, Carrie. We want wisdom.
Don't have wisdom, I have questions. July 1st, there was a meeting with Mayor Fedek, a community meeting about the NVF property, not the development side of it, but the cleanup side of it. There were supposed to be a follow-up meeting. It's been 90 days. I'm just curious where we are in that process with getting that. I understand EPA might not be here, but the PA section of EPA, but where are we with that?
The DEP from Pennsylvania does not want to hold the meeting without EPA there because they're symbiotic. They both work together on it. So they want to schedule together at the same time. So they've declined to meet until they can all come together.
Okay.
They can't, they're overlapping. The state enforces the federal portion of it, and they will not meet without both of them being there.
Okay. Do we have any idea? I mean, I know we're in a shutdown now, but back in July, we weren't. So do we know where we are with EPA coming out? Was anything on the books prior to the shutdown?
They had given dates for October. So we were just getting ready to give the dates out. They were not, I don't know if you recall, but they were not available during the summer. The first week of September, they sent me some optional dates for October. We sent them back in and approved them. And then we were getting ready to announce it. And then they sent an email last week stating that during the shutdown, they
can't.
They can't.
Okay. Next question. The Planning Commission indicated at their last meeting that the NVF development side ordinance would be presented this month. It obviously is not. Do you have any idea when they are coming forward with their draft ordinance for your perusal?
Lexi or Kyle?
Yeah, I would say currently on track to bring it back to council in November,
Okay.
subject to them agreeing that, they're on board with that.
Okay. And my last question is, I noticed the sign went up and they're calling it the Francis, the hotel boutique next to Michoacana Grill. Their advertisement online is advertising that they have parking. The alleyway behind it, I guess, is the only place they would have parking, or are they using part of the parking garage for parking? Because that alleyway will hold maybe 5 spots, but there's more than 5 units in that building.
Lexi?
They, I believe, have 5 spots behind the building, and then they are paying a fee in lieu of to use the parking garage because they are within that 1,500 feet. So they do have
That
to
was
pay a
agreed-
fee.
That was agreed to in like 2011.
I couldn't find, I didn't go back to 2011. So
yeah.
I just wondered where the parking, because we're
Happened to
taking
be
up,
at that meeting, so that's why I know.
we're just taking up a lot of the parking garage, and this is more usage. We found out, we only had 90 spots, and now we're taking more. Okay.
What do you mean by 90 spots? Yeah, what did you mean by we only have 90 spots?
When we developed the Franklin Center and the Genesis or the Michael Walker Building, and they get it. At our last meeting, I was told their dedicated spots and the parking dedicated spots, there were 90 open spots that are available for the community. Well, there obviously are going to be less if we also have dedicated spots for a
Am I-
hotel.
Am I wrong? They're not all dedicated.
Not dedicated.
They're paying for access, but they're not dedicated where others can't use them.
There's 79 spots that are actually dedicated. The other 320 yeah,
Are not undedicated.
are not. Now they have to provide as part of zoning for the required number of spots, 2 per residence, et cetera. So they have to pay for that, like Genesis did, but many of those spots will not be occupied during much of the day, week. But they have to, by zoning, they have to have 290 spots for those 2 buildings.
Okay. I understand during the day, during the evening, they might not need them for the business side. If everybody is home on the weekend or on a weekday, because
Yeah, absolutely.
it's a Monday, it's going to be a little crowded in there.
Very possibly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
John?
I can't see how you can possibly have them pay for it and not have the parking spot if they're living there. What if they get sick or something? I mean, you can't double dip like that.
That's not to take your time, but that's existing code that if you're within that radius, you can pay to use the parking garage as your parking.
Yeah, but if you're gonna put all these apartments up there, which you say you are, and, I mean, you gotta have a parking spot if you're paying for it.
Not according to our code, no. And I think a lot of people are
That's
actually
stupid.
okay.
That's stupid.
I think a lot of people are okay walking from the garage a short distance.
Well, anyway. Yeah, the bills, I'm gonna ask about the bills. Bob tells me that they're like a little over a month old.
Which version you have is, I
Yeah,
think
mean,
those are
run from
through September 10th, I think.
But I mean, we gotta save some money here. I mean, Maloney, we got Maloney here, and he was there when I was on council. They've been here way too long. We need to see if we can get a better deal. We spent $80,000 on them in this last bill.
What percentage of it's reimbursed?
Oh, and very 20,000. 20,000. It's right here. All you gotta do is look at your bills. I mean, it says reimburse, and then all these ones other than that. Electric, Jesus. We get 18 bills every month for electric. Now, you can't tell me we can't put solar on these, pump stations?
We're trying to get grants for solar, but they're just
I mean,
not.
I'm talking
they're not
about
easy.
solar things, just the pump.
Yeah.
I mean, and then big for later, but I mean, some of these things are ridiculous. And you're paying almost $3,000 a month, $30,000 a month. That's $36,000 That's $360,000 a year. You could do a lot with that money if you did it right. And I've only been saying this for 10 years now. So, I mean, it's nothing new. And what's the other one? Credit card purchases. Give these credit, who reviews these credit card purchases?
These are just basic office supplies. These are things we use every day.
Well, you got supplies all over this thing, supplies. This is credit card. I mean, you got, and Grant Consulting Service, who's that?
That's GMS. That's the company that we use for grant consulting services.
And how much do we pay? It's $5,000.
We pay them 60,000 a year.
And what have we gotten out of them so far?
We've gotten almost $10 million over the last 4 years.
All right, I mean, if you've gotten that, that's stuff that's the stuff we need to know here.
Yep, we're going to talk about a lot tonight. That's a huge part.
To know that you're doing. You're supposed to discuss everything you do with the council. You're not supposed to do stuff like I'm doing, trying this stuff out and then talk among yourselves. You're supposed to talk in council and have questions. I can't believe nobody's questioned any of these bills.
John, that's your time. Thank you very much. Charlie, you're up.
Now I want to get back to that hotel. So far, you got emergency service on Linden Street, gonna have to use that hotel. Then you got those two buildings. That debacle you explained about those buildings is just sounds like a mix-up. I like to say another word. God forbid. And I'm serious when I say that, because that nothing sounds right. That building had a yellow sign, I think, on the door, and I wouldn't walk up to that door, because when you bring a hotel and you put it into a residential district, that's zoning. That's supposed to be posted in that neighborhood in you want to talk about so many feet from whatever for the garage use, so many feet within that premises. Wasn't done. Wasn't done. You put on the most blatant corner in the town, and that wasn't done. That's how you notify the citizens that something's coming in. Then we see this mammoth sign, a hotel. You just can't put a hotel in the residential area. You can't start dissecting our neighborhoods by putting businesses in between them and next door to residences. It's not fair. You're bringing in a transient population. And I wouldn't be as patient as that lady the other day for somebody peeing in the yard and taking out washers and dryers. And I wouldn't wait for the police to come. And that's what you're going to get when you start bringing all these strangers in our town. That's why I say we got a rogue government. Because you folks are supposed to be looking out for us. Now we got people coming in here, builders, realtors, contractors, and investors, and they're even on our council. Let's talk. Say Miss Watson's rude, but she's getting right to your heart, and that's what she's meant to get to. And if God wants to punish me for it, let him. Because you need to be taking down many pegs. You're not looking out for us. When you bring that concentration of population into a 1 square mile, you're abusing us. You're diplomatically abusing us and trying to say, well, they got mean with us, this and that. I'm going to get mean with you. I feel like it's the 60s again. I told you that before. And you're not going to do well with me with oppression, because I'm not going to be that willing person. I'm not going to be that person who agrees and says, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. No, I'm not going to be that. That hotel had no business going in. It violated several of our ordinances. Built clear out to the alley. And I thought it was going to be over, and then it built another one onto it. I don't know who was approving it, and I don't know what kind of zoning thing you're looking at, but that was never permissible in the town of Kennett Square. And you allowed them to build out not only into their side setbacks, back setbacks, but the right of way of that alley. You're wrong.
Is there any other public comments? Lexi, was there any issue, was the zoning for 205 South Union appropriate?
Yes, 205 South Union is in the C2 district. It's commercial. It's allowed to have a boutique hotel. Boutique hotels are allowed to purchase parking at the garage within 1,500 feet. They have 4 short-term rentals, 1 long-term, 2 spots for the long-term, and then paid for the short-term.
Thank you very much. That was enough fun for one evening. Kyle, can we talk about the budget? This is the first of many budget presentations that will happen between now and December. The budget has to be approved. Unlike Washington, we have to have a balanced budget and we have to approve it. We can't push it off by December 31st. So this is the first public hearing. As we said on Monday, it is available on the website. If you can't get on the web, you're more than welcome to stop by the office to grab a copy of the budget from Kyle or Rachel. We'll have many other opportunities. Really, this is our first presentation to kind of share it with the public. We'll take some brief comments afterward, but this is not an action. It's a sharing of information. Mr. Manager.
I don't know how much fun this will be, but I'll do my best with it. This is the proposed 2026 budget, as Council President Norris said. Very briefly, there are essentially 2 sections to this with questions and discussion at the end. Where are we coming from? What's the makeup of our budget? For those who already know this is not meant to be demeaning, but it's really meant to explain it to someone who's coming in fresh and get full perspective. As well as our proposed 2026 budget. Again, this is draft. This is October. It will change before it's hopefully adopted in December. This is taking a 10,000-foot view and coming down. For every dollar of real estate taxes a resident pays, where does that money go? And it makes pretty easy math in the sense that 2/3 go to the school district, 10% go to Chester County, and the remaining 23% go to Kennett Square Borough. Diving into that, where's that 23% that's going to Kennett Square Borough going? Primarily to the general fund. Let me just see here. Primarily general fund at 56%. Emergency management fund, which is primarily fire and EMS. And then your capital fund at 15% and 2% going to the library. If you remember a couple of years ago, there was a referendum approved to send 0.2 mils to the library. Digging into the general fund. So general fund is the big portion there, 56%. Looking at that particular slice of the pie, the vast majority, not quite the majority, almost half goes to policing. You have about 10% to streets and admin. You've got some for finance, 14% for debt, 8% for pensions, and 1% for contributions. Those are things that go to Kennett Collaborative or the park, or our planning, zoning, and code enforcement fund, which we'll get to later, but it largely functions just on user fees at this point. Looking at the revenue side of it, obviously just as important as the expenses. This is, again, just the general fund. You'll see about 30% of it is your property taxes that all residents pay, hopefully. About a quarter is the earned income tax. And then you have a lot of other parts in there. So you have some transfers. We can get into what those are later, but essentially the general fund takes the full cost for employees and take, Rob from our team, he's managing the sewer and water departments. So they then pay the general fund back for their portion of his time. So when you see a transfer, it's not just a subsidy. In fact, our transfers into the general fund have gone down significantly, which makes our job harder, but we feel it's the right thing to do. That's really just reimbursing for that fund's share of salary, benefits, building, technology, internet, things like that. Then going in, looking at it, so you've got the 2026 proposed numbers. Here's what it looks like going back a couple years. You can see that the general fund has been growing. This does include the emergency management fund because it comes from the same source as your general fund, which is the real estate taxes. Again, continued, it's just easier to see it in graphical form here. Up and down with some, you occasionally get spikes, but generally stable. This is important to note. These are not all necessarily general fund items, but they're all discretionary spending items. So it's important to look at, where's your growth really coming from? Again, it's pretty stable over time, but what you see is that we're primarily spending money on public safety. And if you ask the average resident, right, having a safe community and a really high quality set of public safety services is really valuable. We would pay twice as much to get it back if we ever lost it. That's really where, the spending is going. You can see here, I think this slide is helpful because it gives everyone a sense of, because of our size, that we do fluctuate based on relatively small changes. So the Genesis property, the two properties in the center part of town, going through a reassessment process, which we fought, that reassessment alone lost us $109,000 worth of revenue. So in 1 year, right, that's about 0.4 mils for the borough. So again, we fought it, but that happened. Transfers, again, as we talked about, trying to allocate as accurately as we can to not put extra costs on the other funds. In this case, then takes $181,000 out of the general fund. So it's trying to do the right thing, even though it makes this budget tougher to deal with. Policing costs, I think of the 313,000, something like 20,000 is discretionary changes. So these are, contracted increases, which are modest to salary. But at the same time, because of our size, if a couple employees elect back into our healthcare system, that can have a noticeable impact on our budget. So we really are, we're budgeting responsibly, we're doing a good job, but we are prone to swings because of our size. In our fire and EMS, this again was a 9% increase, which is lower than it has been, but it still has an impact. So what you'll see here, we have run surpluses the last couple of years. We've been at times really frugal and saving money. At times we've had open positions. Both have contributed to those savings. This current budget has a $579,000 deficit. We can choose to work through that over the next couple of months, or we can use the $1 million in surplus that we have to smooth that out over a couple of years. That's the honest assessment of where we are. And this is post a couple rounds of cuts. Next slide. Oh, sorry. What you'll see here is the final proposed tax change is proposing a 3.1% increase of taxes, trying to get to 3% a year, where we're not doing larger increases, trying to make it manageable. To accomplish this, we're actually lessening the amount of money going into the general fund to offset a higher number going into the emergency management fund. So we are trying to cut back to mitigate that impact. I lost it. Yeah. Nope. It's an important slide. So. Yes. All right. Thank you. So that's the general fund. Again, we can go into more depth on these, but I think it's worth going through all of them because there are a lot to get through. For everyone who's not aware, government functions as essentially a series of these funds that act on their own. You're really not supposed to be crossing funds over them. So that's why there are so many of these to go through. And you'll see each of them functions and acts and is in a slightly different place. What you'll notice here from the water fund, the number on the left is the total budget proposed and actual going back. The number on the right is the capital share of that. So you're not adding them together, you're subtracting. So what you see there, it's actually better illustrated here. We are making a real effort to invest in capital, and we've actually reduced our operating costs the last couple of years here, which is difficult to do. So we're trying to mitigate the impacts, but we have deferred maintenance of capital that we are trying to catch up on. Over the last, going back through late 2021, we've done quite a bit of capital efforts, and so water main replacements have been Race Street. Race Street's ongoing, and East South Street. The requested increase for the water fund is 35%. For a minimum bill, that would go from about $74 a quarter to about $100 a quarter. And that would fund replacing a water main at Anson B. Nixon, doing work on Race Street, and a water well upgrade. For our sewer fund, again, number on the left is total, number on the right is capital share of that. You'll see that it's increasing, but as this slide shows, it's modest. The real increases are capital, trying to invest in the physical infrastructure so that we're not spending more to fix it after it breaks. Here's, again, some of the projects that we've done, some of them that are underway. Sewer main replacements. Again, each of these efforts is digging up the ground, digging up a pipe, stopping the water. These are significant efforts. And we named 5. I think we actually did a couple more that we couldn't think of. West South Street, East South Street, Hornblende, East South Street Force Main, Terminal Way, sewer main relinings. So we're not replacing them. We're going in and putting a new lining on the inside. It gets you the same outcome. Bachelor Alley, Sycamore Alley, Knights Alley, Southview Avenue, Birch Street, and Fairthorn Street. In summary, we are requesting a 20% increase in the sewer fund from 49 to 59 a quarter for the minimum charge. And that includes South Street Pump Station, a SCADA upgrade, and engineering fees for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade/expansion. Looking at the next fund, this is the general capital fund. So each of the funds has their own capital within them. This is, if you remember, a couple of years ago, council voted to dedicate funding to general capital. All of those funds have stayed in there. You'll see later we've multiplied them with grants. A lot of that money is used as matching dollars. So this slide here, just of note, on this slide, we exempted in 2021 and 2024. 2021 had a spike because that's when we brought in funding to buy this building. And in 2024 was the bridge financing for the Birch Street and police station projects. So we're not showing it here because it spikes and it doesn't tell you the real story. So this gives you a sense of, you can see when that, when capital really starts to kick in. And we'll talk about it later, but that's provided a real impact on our infrastructure. Again, this is going back, late 2021 through now. What's on, some of these are underway now. Paving efforts in the borough. Marshall Street from Cypress to Mulberry, South Willow Street from Juniper to Linden, Sycamore Alley, West South Street, Walls Alley, and the 300 block of Center Street. Additionally, Richards Road from Young Avenue to Walnut Street, Bachelor Maiden from Union to Linden, Knights Alley from Schoolhouse to Center, schoolhouse from Magnolia to Mulberry, 500 block of Southview, and Chestnut Alley from Mulberry to Cedar. Continuing, 600 block of Oak Avenue, Hornblende Avenue, Mulberry Street, West Linden Street, Terminal Way, and Juniper Street. Continuing, Race Street, Wilson Road, Hazel Avenue, Birch Street, and west south from the borough line to Harvey Circle. Continuing on capital projects, we rebuilt the Mill Street pump station, the South Street pump station's underway, and Cypress was upgraded for increased flow. To give you a sense, and this is probably better seen in person, but all of those colors are different capital projects. And the point here is we've done a lot of projects and there's still a lot left to do. There's a lot of white on that map. But it also shows that it's distributed. We're not targeting certain parts of the borough. We're taking the spots that need it the most, and that's where we're investing. But as you can see, that's a lot of work over the last couple of years that our team has gotten through. To your point, John, the grants that we've gotten, because we wouldn't have been able to do literally half of these things without outside funding. And that's why partners are really important. Grant. Terminal Way, Birch Street, water pump station, Willow Street, Grace Street, another pump station, another Birch Street grant. Just note, these are outside funding. So this includes county, state, and federal money, as well as money from private entities like Brandywine, as well as donations from individuals or private companies. That could include a developer that does a project for us, things like that. More outside funding, another Birch Street, a couple there, water pump state, another one, Safer Routes, East South Street, and the sewer treatment plant. For police, body cameras, fuming chamber, JAG, PCCD, and of course our police station. In Parks and Trails, the Planning Kennett Connections, Cypress Beach, which is the new one near the YMCA, landscaping, again, Grant just mentioned that earlier, Parish Trail Master Plan, a couple of donations there, and Cypress Beach, another portion from a private donation. Parish Trail path paving, Parish Trail stream restoration, and the State Street revitalization effort we did this summer. Of note here, and I really want to focus on this, $11.2 million from outside sources, about nine of that, 9+ is grant specifically. It's about 43 mils worth of property taxes, which compares to 39.9 from 2022 through this year. So what it's saying is we brought in more funding from the outside of our municipality than we've taxed people. So we really take seriously when we tax people, and we use that as matching funds to do a lot larger impact. We're not requesting a change in this rate for the capital fund. This is primarily used as matching dollars, as well as paving funds. The proposed projects for next year, which come out of our capital improvement process, we heard obviously a continuing desire to pave roads, fix roads. We heard a real desire to fix an issue with Miller's Hill, where there's basically a road issue that causes some movement. And we're proposing some parking and striping improvements in the northwest part of our borough, essentially where we believe, I think it's East Linden, Mayor, but adding striping there, we really believe can slow people down, add some parking, and it's a great test case to see if this is something we can do across the borough. The Emergency Management Fund, This is primarily for fire and EMS expenses. So this is tracking the contract that we signed last year. It calls for a 9% increase for 2026. And you can see that here. In order to do that, it's calling for a point, I believe, 53 mil increase. That's because the percentage is higher than the 9%. That's because last year, I think when we did our contract, we had already allocated. So we used some general fund transfer to boost the fire and EMS funding. So that's why 9% versus, I think the number was about 20%. That delta is explained by that. I mean, you can see here, the funding is going up, although fingers crossed, there seems to be some slowdown in that increase. And obviously, we're going to keep pushing on that. Yeah, so 0.53. Again, it's mostly for the fire and EMS regional services that we get. We're getting into some of the more straightforward funds. This is a liquid fuels fund. This is when you go to the gas station, you pay a gas tax. Those funds come back to municipalities. We then turn around and use them primarily for paving. You can see operating costs have gone up slightly because we're now allowed to use snow removal or allowed to use liquid fuels funds for snow removal costs. So trying to take pressure off of our general fund, this is one cost that we can use a dedicated fund for. And no notable changes in the revenue or expenses. The solid waste fund, this is the trash contract primarily. We essentially take that trash contract, we divide the total cost by the number of users, and that's where we come up with the cost for it. You can see here, there's not a huge amount of other things in there. What that works out to is $2.53 extra at 3%. Again, it's the theme of trying to get these funds under control with capital investment so that we're lessening those costs over time, making it predictable. This is the parking fund. You can see here, the costs have largely flatlined over the last couple of years here. Candidly, as we look ahead, revenue is going to be tough in 2026 and 2027 as we transition from Genesis to the new buyers. We are proposing here that we use reserves to cover the 2026 number. And I imagine we may still have some trouble in 2027 as well. This is significant because this is the only fund where we're proposing using the dedicated by resolution reserve funds. So it would require council action in order to do that. The recommendation here is that we do this, understanding the fund gets much healthier once we get a full user in. It then gets much, much healthier in 2032 when our debt is paid off. And each of those offers about a $300,000 bump. So it's significant steps, but we have to get through the next couple of years. The recommendation is that we continue to look for more revenue sources to help this fund, not only the next 2 years, but in perpetuity. So again, using those reserves, we're also proposing taking the annual pass from $840 to $900. This would match the contract that we approved with the new purchasers of those buildings. This is our planning, zoning, and code enforcement fund. You may or may not remember, but last year was the first time we spun this fund off to treat it as a quasi-enterprise fund. The thinking being that there are benefits of this fund and that user fees should cover the benefits of those funds or of that department. You can see here that our costs have been pretty stable over time. what is significant about this is that in 2026, the fund is nearly self-sufficient. The only reason it's not is that we're starting a comprehensive plan, which is a 10-year effort. So this fund is nearly self-sufficient. There are increases of between 20 and 25% for rental inspection fees and different building fees. Those are to cover the costs of the services that we're providing. That is the end of the fund presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. And also thanks to certainly to Nick and all the department heads for the efforts that you put into this. It's a large ongoing process. It's not an easy one. The numbers are very, very tight, much tighter than any of us would like, that's for sure. The council and mayor have all had an opportunity to meet with Nick and Kyle to go over the line item budgets in detail to really understand what's driving those costs. So we've had that opportunity. Again, it's very early in the process. These numbers will change. Is there any comment from the mayor or council at this point? Any staff comments, any manager comments that you'd like to share right now?
Clarify what the increases to the people are going to be.
Sure. We could do like a one page. That would be helpful. Yeah. Okay.
So there's, I mean, just go over it. It's an increase in water, it's an increase in sewer, and
Taxes, parking, and development fees, and trash.
Public comment. Juan, do you mind giving John the mic? Please, thank you very much. I was already over.
You guys got to be kidding me. You're getting to be like the damn school. Oh, it's just $100 more we're putting on this year. You know, I'm paying damn near $12,000 in, I'm paying $18,000 in taxes now. And now you're gonna raise me, and then water and sewer. Christ, every time I turn around, you're raising something. And it's not gonna get any better, Kyle. It's not gonna, we're only a town of 1 mile square. You can only put the 5 pounds in a 5-pound bag. I know you're trying to stuff 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag by doing all this other stuff, adding all these buildings you want to build. But the people aren't going to make that much difference. You're going to have more problems because you're going to have more traffic. You're going to have more problems because you're going to put more traffic. You're going to ruin the roads. You know, so you're offsetting one problem with another, and you're ruining the town. There is no town anymore. There's no town. It's a neighborhood and restaurants, neighborhood and restaurant. No tourism. What we got for tourism? Nothing. We don't have a drugstore. We don't have a supermarket. We don't have nothing. We have nothing. We don't even have a florist. We don't have nothing. We used to have all this stuff. The town was full of it. And I've seen it go down and I've seen it come up. But I'm telling you, people are crazy. If you think you're just going to keep raising this stuff, good thing I'll be dead pretty soon. Because Christ, I can't afford you people. Christ almighty. I mean, I use it. Oh, it's just 3%, just 2. What's our total debt? What's our total debt? Come on, Kyle.
They probably, I just give me a second. Probably $20 million.
20 million.
Give or take. Nick would know the exact.
Give or take what? Mil, 2, 4?
Well, are you talking all funds or are you talking specifically your real
I'm
estate
talking about
fund?
our total debt.
The total debt is 21 million,
Thank you. That's all I wanted.
including interest.
All right, and then, Jesus.
Any other comment?
The next. You know, you put it on us. And when you say the water, sewer, and the tax, you're talking about a homeowner. You're putting everything on us, the homeowner, as our real estate for the state does, through the schools. You're hitting us with the worst things possible time after time and try to say you weren't going to do it, but I heard it right here. So I'm not surprised. I heard it here. We might have to raise it once, 2, 3 times. Then you try to say you didn't say that. And I called you a liar because you did, and I wrote it down. It's not fair. What's the bondage? The bond issue with the debt we have. What's the bond? We're way over that, John. We got them 2 garages. We got this building. You bought an empty building, which is a disgrace. And you keep on going down the abyss, thinking all these pipe dreams is going to salvage it. If you get 6 million, that ain't going to help us. Other night you said 6 million would help us recoup something. Okay, that's not going to help us. He said the total amount due, but he don't have the architect fees in there. He don't have the engineer fees in there. He don't have the lawyer fees in there. But yet we're going on the pipe dreams, the pipe ways and bike paths. And then we even tear down, or we put a bike, what was that in? You can put a bike in there, storage place. And then I look in the furniture store and took it down. Where's it at? We're spending good money after bad, and you're the ones doing it. And then you get mad when we come here and say something, 2 of us, because the rest of town is not watching you this tight. And that's very important that you worry about the citizens. And that we're not talking about operating budget. Our total budget, and I think you're a little bit low on that 21, because I've been adding up everything
I
you've
have
been
numbers
doing.
right here.
Well, it might not be debt, but guess what? We paid it. We had to pay a man $1 million to clean this building out. That you didn't anticipate. We had to pay $53,000 to the school because you had a bigger bill for taxes, but you thought you were going to get away with it, but they took it down a little bit. It might be up now. And now you're talking about putting nonprofits in a building that may be tax exempt and fight for it because they do deal with real charity. That doesn't make them exempt from federal, but if you want to make them exempt under that LLC or 4013 or whatever it is I used to get my groceries from the school through, you're not being honest about this budget, Kyle. There's a lot in it, and that was a very evasive presentation. When you put a pie chart up with a 0 on it, the first pie chart had nothing on it.
It did have stuff.
No, it didn't. I looked at it blank.
It does.
It's not a blank up here for us.
I can give you this after.
Yeah, well, you'll give to me afterwards, and most of the public will want it after too. So I'm just saying that. That's not fair. That should have been on that first pie chart all the way. I don't have to hear what the school does. I don't have to hear what the county or state does. I want to know what the borough of Kennett Square does. And you're not looking good on the debt you got us in.
Are there any other comments? Okay. With that, the meeting is adjourned. Again, this is the first shot at the budget. It will evolve from here, and you're more than welcome to either grab a copy off the website and or from the borough office. Our next, are you, sorry? Okay, Rachel said she's got a couple of copies here if you'd like some nighttime reading. With that, our next meeting is on Monday, November 3rd. Thank you very much for coming out this evening.